The title of my talk is Everybody Needs Friends, and how amazing things can happen with a good network. And part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this and why I felt it was relevant was because I've had an extraordinary 4 years, and I know that it's down to a lot of people who've helped me, and I think it's really important that network and support network and those people that you work with and you trust, and also that trust you with their recommendations. It's really important that those people are there, because without them, you effectively you're nothing. So I'm going to crack straight onto this. When Joe first asked me to do this, I kind of thought, well, what the hell am I going to talk about? And then I thought about what's happened to me, and I wondered how I could possibly get away with talking about myself under the guise of some worthy title that might be of interest to you guys. So I thought about everything that has made it happen. And one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, how did you, long-haired, scruffy surfer, untrained chef and copywriter, get 2 book deals and a 10-part TV series with BBC Two? It's a fair question. The answer is twofold. Firstly, I've got a product which is quite bizarre. This is the product, and it's not unique in North Devon. Everybody knows somebody like me. It's me, my camper van, and it's the idea. That's what I'm selling. So through my books, that's the key to unlocking this world of freedom, if you like, that's perceived. It's a perceived world of freedom. And that's the product. And people are looking for sort of different ways of doing things and living, and they look to us sometimes. They look to this area as being inspirational because they see it as somewhere they really want to go. People come here for their holidays. They would love to move here. So it's an easy sell. I'm not going to witter on about that for 5 minutes, although I'll probably use that through them. What I'm going to talk about is how that product, to coin a phrase, hit the market, and that is through friends. Call it networking, call it old school tie, call it the West Buckland effect if you live here. I didn't grow up around here, so it doesn't affect me. Or you could call it Facebook, you can call it Google +1, you can call it clout with a K, or you can call it having lots and lots of followers on Twitter. I call it having friends. In a nutshell, I'm going to go through how my friends helped me get a TV series and get 2 books, and basically change my life. I met a friend of a friend who met in London in an antenatal class. Right, okay, bear with me. Her husband, an ex-ad man, has got a house in Appledore, and he also has a camper van. They live the life. They wrote a book about travelling through the canals of France in their narrowboat. They spent 6 months doing it. He gets it, he understands it. I told him about my idea for a lifestyle book, about living, cooking and having fun in a camper van, way back in 2007. And that was that. I carried on building my copywriting company, carried on researching shrimping and trying to catch lobsters and fish, mostly unsuccessfully. But in 2008, a year later, I got a random call from a publisher asking me to do some copywriting for them. I'd been recommended by my friend. As somebody who could get their website up and running, because they were doing a lifestyle publications. Their books were supposed to be food and lifestyle. So he recommended me as somebody who'd understand where they were coming from, because I was writing a book about a camper van. I did the work, the publisher liked it, I proved I could write, and then a few sleepless nights later I had a book deal. Ta-da! Amazing. And the publisher was Hodder. Next, when we were gearing up for the release of the book, I was asked by a reporter from the Mail on Sunday whether or not I'd ever considered TV, because she thought that I was all a bit kind of boys only, going out there, and I think I took her mussel picking, and we cooked it on the beach in the da-da-da-da, so she thought that I would be all right on TV. It wasn't even on the radar, I'd never even thought about it. Then I got a call from somebody at 24 in Plymouth, and they said, was I interested in doing TV? I thought about it. Now, I had a previous career before I became a writer in the film industry, and had been on the other side of the camera. And I'd never thought about it, but why not? I know how it works. I shouldn't be afraid of it. I just never saw myself that side of it. So why not? They came and interviewed me and then turned me down. And at that point, I was kind of into it, and I thought, I need to push this. So I pushed it. I went to a friend of mine, Chris Harris. Some of you may know him. He's a cameraman for West Country, or was. Now he's freelance. He's a really, really good guy. And he'd made a little film with me down at Sandymouth. And we picked mussels and we cooked them in the van, and that was that. We thought we'd take that somewhere. And meanwhile, I got in touch with an old friend who I'd worked with years before in the film industry when we were T-boys together. He's now a renowned TV chef called Stephen Gates, and runs a kids program called Gastronauts, among other things. He introduced me to his agent, who is a lady who got Jamie Oliver started, and she took me on. Then she introduced me to Plum Pictures, part of Hat Trick, who then introduced me to the BBC. At this point, fresh from the West in a lovely crisp white shirt, which is most unusual for me, I took my film up there and I showed it to them. 2 weeks later, I had a commission for 10 half-hour shows to be shown on BBC Two at 6:30. And it was absolutely extraordinary. And it comes down to two things. One, I had a product, which was my book. I had something to sell. When I lived in London, I felt like I had nothing. And when I came to Devon, I developed something, I worked on something, and it was to create the long hair and the surfiness and the camper vans and the food and the muscle picking, stuff that we all do. But I was lucky enough to be able to package it and sell it. And the other thing that I had was people who were prepared to put their neck on the line for me. They were people who trusted me to take care of their reputation. If I'd have gone in there and I'd have been a right duffer, Stefan would have lost his credibility as a person. And people also you wouldn't mind helping out too. Now, unfortunately, Chris Harris didn't get the gig being the cameraman on the TV show, but I tried, you know, and because I really believe that what comes around goes around. And that's what this is all about, isn't it? It's about karma. To coin the hippie phrase. It's a terrible hippie concept, but you know, that's what it is. But that's why I wanted to talk about it today, because I think it's relevant for everybody. I'm sure very few of you hanker after your own TV series or a book. Your goals are different, but it's really still relevant. One last thing. When I first left film school in 1989 or whatever it was, I tried for months and months and months to get a break in the film industry. I knew no one, and yet I knew the contacts would bring me work. And I can remember sitting in front of the phone in my mum's house, having to make calls to strangers to ask for work. I went to London and literally knocked on doors, trudging around the streets of Soho. And sometimes the fear of having to do that made me cry so hard I wanted to give up. And there are times that I would just have given up all ambition for going into an industry where who you know is more important than what you know. Just because I didn't know anybody. To have an easy life, it would have been much easier, but I didn't, and I'm really glad I didn't, and it was an amazing lesson. Eventually I got through to somebody and was offered the chance to make tea for free. The first job I did lasted 24 hours. It was a pop promo, and I got paid nothing. But that day I made a new friend, and that was Stefan, who was working on that job as well, making tea. And that is all it takes. So thank you very much.